When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like aloe or skins, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. With Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts are going abandoned and way more sales happening. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skins uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Dying Time is here. That's right. We're talking about The Dead Zone on Kill by Kill. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal, Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from Castle Rock, Maine. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where we're dedicated to celebrating the least discussed component of any horror film, the characters. And today we will be talking all about and through the gory details of 1983's The Dead Zone, in the hopes that a murderous deputy's untimely end is just the beginning of the jokes we might make at his and others' expense. And as always, there's only one person that I trust to inform me that she thinks that the ice is going to break. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
You did not get that. You needed at least another 2.5 seconds on that pause between ice and gonna break.
That's true. I suddenly became afraid that I was gonna blow out the microphone, and I held
the
back.
Ice is gonna break.
Now, I don't want to scare you, Gina, but we are not alone. That's right. We have a special guest now. You may know him as a writer for such outlets as Pace, AV Club, Sci-Fi, and Dread Central, or from his excellent podcast, The Scares That Shaped Us. But you now know him as a guest on this program, the one, the only, Matthew Jackson. How are you doing today, Matthew?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to have you on board, especially for this particular edition of Kill by Kill, as this season we're going to be dipping a lot into the works of Stephen King that we have not done on the show so far. We've done this and we've done that, but we've never done a full and deep dive into his cinematic adaptations. And of course, as we are talking about The Dead Zone today, I must ask you, Matthew, what was first for you? Did you read The Dead Zone or did you see the film first?
I definitely read it first. I think what happened was I read On Writing, King's memoir and writing textbook thing, which is indispensable for me and for a lot of other people. I read that probably in the early 2000s. And in that book, he talks a lot about The Dead Zone being one of what he considers one of his best books. And I had not read it up to that point. So I went and found it, read it. And a couple of years ago, somewhere around about 2016, for, metaphor reasons, I
was gonna say for no reason whatsoever.
Just had a strange calling to reread The Dead Zone. And I think roundabout then would have been when I saw the movie, when I finally streamed it.
Excellent. How about you, Gina?
I am pretty sure that I read the book first. I know that I read this one and I read Cujo and roughly one after the other because they overlap with each other. Perhaps Sheriff Bannerman is a character in them. Unfortunately, he is gutted by Cujo at the end of Cujo. So he is not a recurring character after that point. And there's also a creepy reference to one Frank Dodd, whose character dies in the Dead Zone as one of the monsters that lives in Tad Trenton's closet, which I thought was very chilling. I probably watched the movie a pretty long time ago, but I think that the book came first.
Yeah, I don't know, honestly, what came first. I want to say that because this is a movie that could be cut down for television, that I probably saw it on cable first. In terms of the books that I read, this was not one that I ran to first. And so I probably saw the movie first and then saw all the differences in the book version, which is, there's a lot of detail in there that would not make for a very good movie. But within the realm of the book, I think adds a lot to the whole narrative. But I loved both. And I'm always surprised how much I enjoy this movie because it is, let's say it, not exactly one that makes you leave the theater smiling from ear to ear.
No.
It's not a bundle of joy, this one. No, it's not like your Graveyard Shifts and your Shawshank Redemptions, which are fun for different reasons, but both very you leave the theater feeling like you had a good time. Mm-hmm. This one is as bleak as the bleakest Canadian winter David Cronenberg could possibly imagine.
Yes. But that being said, it is beautifully photographed. It is gorgeous. It's very well acted. It's really well written. It comes together in such a fantastic way that the tragedy of it is as beautiful as the cinematography is. And you really feel for it. And this time watching it, I'll be honest with you, Gina, this year seems to be a revelatory moment for us on the show, as every third film seems to send me into a crying jag.
Yeah. The emotions are a little raw. And it's like, I mean, this is a hard movie to watch now. It really is.
Well, it gets us to a subject that we might as well tackle a little bit first, because obviously we've alluded to it, but this particular narrative involves a political assassination. And I'd love to say that it's simply a relic of the past that we look back upon as a lesson learned and what was going on in this country when that happened. But no, just a week ago, a political assassinations occurred, multiple, in Minnesota, and more would have occurred. Let us just say that we're going to be a little bit delicate about this, because ending up in a foreign country's gulag is no longer just a fun joke. So we are going to be real and say that there are elements of this book that seem rather obvious to most people, in that politicians can make a move so cowardly, so repulsive, so unthinkable, that it kills their political careers for good, to the point in which they are left bereft, drunk, alone, and off themselves. Whereas in our current reality, they get reelected.
Yeah, I often think about, and then this part was not actually in the movie, but there is a flashback of a young Greg Stilson. I believe he is selling magazine subscriptions or something like
Bibles.
Bibles, yes. And he kicks a dog to death. And it is basically a sign of, oh, this is one cold customer. You know, he hurts things. And our current what is the head of the department that the
Department
dog
of Homeland
killer,
Security.
who told a story about shooting a family pet. Like it was a fun, relatable anecdote, and people excused it. It was her dog to do with what she wanted to do.
The free market decided this was fine.
Right. And, and again, this was your first sign that, this is the antagonist.
It's just one of those things where you never really, you can write these fantastic things and think to yourself, this is so far-fetched. There's no way there's a reality to it. Like, I don't know, flying an airplane into the building at the end of The Running Man. And then when it happens, you're like, well, fuck. I can't be the only person who thought that this was a possibility, right? Like, I didn't predict it. It's just, this is a wild fucking thing that happened. And in many respects, if you've been writing stories that are slightly speculative, sometimes grand fantasy, you're going to write things that end up becoming true despite how far-fetched they might be when you initially connect your fingers to the typewriter keys.
Well, what's so interesting about the whole Stillson kicking a dog to death thing in the book, King has talked about this book as the exploration of the question, like, could a political assassin ever be right? And the other question of that is, if I wrote about a political assassin who was right, would I still be able to make him a sympathetic character? And he sort of hedges his bets with this early scene. You have two scenes that open the book, which is one is Johnny as a child having this weird sort of having his first prophetic vision, and the other is Stillson kicking the dog to death. And it's just it is there in black and white for the audience to. Like he does not leave the reader questioning. He's just like, no, this is a horrible person.
Yeah.
And he's always been a horrible person, and he always will be a horrible person. Just so you know, when the guy pulls out the gun later, he's just a bad person. And the movie leaves that a little more open, and I think it's the casting of Martin Sheen as Stillson, even then added this layer of like gravitas to him, but especially now, having watched Martin Sheen play the literal president on television for 7 years, watching him play this like creepy politician is like, I totally see how he could seduce the masses. It's such an interesting difference between the book and the film that I think about a lot.
The movie, as it's developed, it takes a certain direction that, any adaptation leaves behind what doesn't work for the medium you're translating it into. And there's a lot in any novel that you simply have to leave behind because you only have so much real estate on movie screens that you can take up for the most part. That seems to be less and less of an issue in the past few years, but even still, there are limits to it. And here, there are certain things that get shifted in a way that really makes a much better movie story than it would if it was constructed the same way in the novel. It's still episodic in the novel, but this really takes it into a very clear 3-act structure of this was Johnny before and just after the accident. This is the examination of the Castle Hill Strangler / killer. And this is the aftermath when Johnny realizes that if he continues to do that, he's really going to rot himself from the inside. And even then, he can't help to make decisions to help people. That's just the way he is. And it really, really works. But how it got there is an interesting discussion. And part of it is that this movie was originally brought into Lorimar Productions, which was primarily a TV production house, but had come on in recent years to do a bunch of movie stuff. And when they buy the rights to this, they bring on screenwriter Jeffrey Boehm. And we've talked about Boehm because he was brought on to revise The Lost Boys for Richard Donner in 1986. But he was brought on specifically to this in order to adapt the book for director Stanley Donen of Funny Face, Charade, and of course his most beloved movie, Saturn III.
I was also going to say, did he not do Blame It on Rio?
He also did Blame It on Rio, which is a literal sex crime put to celluloid.
That's what I was bracing myself for you to say. Like, they're like, wait, Saturn 3? No.
Well, but Saturn 3 has the benefit of getting to watch Kirk Douglas take drugs with Farrah Fawcett and frolic. If you've never seen Kirk Douglas pretend to be on drugs and frolic, please watch Saturn 3. Try to watch Saturn 3. It's one of those things you see the poster art for that robot. You're like, how can that possibly be bad? And then you watch it.
Yeah. Sorry. I was just like, it's just so, it's such an interesting like time capsule of like the way that Stephen King adaptations have progressed.
Yeah.
That this was one of like the first 6 or 8 of them. And they were like, who should we get? Let's get the Sing It in the Rain guy.
Right.
He should be able to handle this, no problem. I mean, no shade to Stanley Donen, like great director, made amazing movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not a horror director.
No, and to think that he was like right in that section of time where he's like, I don't know, I got to do something that's really not a musical or something that's a light comedy. I don't know, killer robot or guy who assassinates would-be president. Which one of these is for me? I can't imagine what that movie would be, but we don't have to worry about it because Lorimar shut down its movie division, and Dino De Laurentiis of The Monkey Die, The People Cry fame picked it up. And my question to both of you is this the best Dino De Laurentiis Stephen King collaboration?
It might be. I'm like going and looking at the list right now to see if I'm forgetting anything.
And this is obviously better than Cat's Eye. It's obviously better than Maximum Overdrive. Love Maximum Overdrive as I do. It's as we often say on the show, it might not be good, but it might be great movie. But no one would say that's top-notch quality. And Firestarter is kind of a non-starter. There's good things in it. But again, Dino De Laurentiis just loves the idea of Stephen King and certainly gives a lot of people interesting, runways to do what they want with it. But Cronenberg is the person who absolutely is so right for this material and finds a way to translate it in a way that I don't think had been done since Carrie at that time, where he really takes that material, gets it down to the movie shape it needs to be, and lets the people on screen do the best that they possibly can with it.
Well, there's a pretty good people talk a lot about how when you immediately think Stephen King film adaptation, everybody immediately goes to like The Lawnmower Man or
Yes.
and like focuses on how so many of them just diverge away from the material. But this was part of a pretty solid 3-movie run of I'm almost certainly going to get the order of them wrong, but you've got Cujo, you've got The Dead Zone, you've got Christine, all of which are 90% faithful to the material and are good, solid adaptations.
And the changes they're making, you kind of have to make because it's not a book. You don't live in people's heads. It's hard to make that ghost in the back seat work in Christine the movie.
Yeah, there's no way they were going to end Cujo with that kid dying.
But we'll get to that one day. And it's not to say that Uncle Steve did not have a chance to put his paws on this particular project. Boehm's script was initially rejected by De Laurentiis because who knows why that man does what he does.
Any number of reasons and any number of substances could have influenced why he didn't want that screenplay at that time. But anyway, rest in peace, Dino.
Yes, thank goodness. I love that he did stuff, and also you kind of have to wonder about the decision-making process. But it should be said that once he brings Cronenberg onto the project, David reads that King script and says, listen, there's a lot of great stuff here, but this is so brutal, I don't think people will be able to recover from it. We have to find a way that recenters Johnny Smith's story in this and not worry about it being a slasher movie for 45 minutes. And so Cronenberg and Boehm together start shaving down the elements of King's book and screenplay that didn't work for the film. Like details of Johnny's brain tumor, or whether or not it was the source for the visions, or the preamble about ice skating. All of that kind of gets lost in the sauce, because even the book, like that accident doesn't happen for 91 plus pages, if I'm remembering correctly. So they basically narrow it down to this 3-act structure. And then as a result, with the end product, King has often praised this movie as like, hey, this got my material right. And the one person he tends to leave out of that conversation is Jeffrey Boehm. And he's like, I don't know, maybe he feels like he's a little sore because I was able to kind of crack that script, for the movies, but he hadn't really done that yet. Writing novels and scripts are truly different animals. But everyone agrees that Cronenberg was the best arbiter of what would make the best film in the end. And I would agree with that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, King had only done, Creepshow before this, which was done with George Romero. So it's kind of a different beast in terms of him writing scripts. And I know he had tried to write scripts. He's talked before about adapting Ray Bradbury novels just for fun so he could learn how to write scripts. And if I had to guess, I haven't read his script, but I would guess there's more of the Stilson stuff in it. Because the book is full of interludes of Stilson just being shitty.
Yes. Stilson is throughout.
Yeah.
The Castle Rock Killer is throughout. And what Cronenberg and Boehm come to the conclusion of is that you kind of have to make them their own sections, and then let Johnny Smith's story be the thing that really transport. Those are things that happen around and through Johnny Smith, but the center of the story has to be him. And because of a novel structure, you can kind of do it any way you want that way. And certainly King loves to tell a sprawling tale. I have no problem reading a book of his that goes all over the place and tells somebody's backstory for 35 pages. That's not an issue I have. But once again, you have to adapt something for the medium you're translating it into, and a movie simply works a different way.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like aloe or Skims, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. With Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts are going abandoned and way more sales happening. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
One thing that struck me this time in watching the film is that in the history of iconic opening credit sequences, I never really hear the dead zone mentioned, but it absolutely should be. Now, you can see elements of the title design from Alien in there.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is Cronenberg's Alien title design, yeah.
But it's also the elements that he really wants to get of that painterly, nostalgic view of Americana, of North America, but there are these dark abyss sections that keep making the rest of it crumble away. And it's just like a mini movie that tells you in the credit sequence exactly what the movie is going to be when you actually watch it.
It's got a perfect, just immediate chilly atmosphere.
It does. It's great. And the Michael Kamen score underneath it, which for those who don't know, Michael Kamen scored stuff like Die Hard, and it sounds a little like Die Hard. It's immediately, you get that feeling. It's like the dark opening credits of It's a Wonderful Life. It's got that kind of snowy thing, but with a completely eerie, totally effective vibe.
Yeah. It really evokes the sort of core concept of Johnny Smith's dilemma, because he's forced to see the past or present or future possibilities that are the darkest moments, oftentimes against his will. And the thing we've kind of roundabout discussed over the past couple of years has been the concept introduced in Nope of the bad miracle. And this is one of those super bad miracle movies. The cost of Johnny's gift to his mind and body is robbing him of the life he would have led. In the book, the dead zone pretty much refers to the 4 years that he's in a coma. But in the movie, it's more like it's the space in his brain that allows him to see these moments that would not be revelatory to anybody else. It's the absence of a defined past, present, or future that allows him to see the darkest outcome when he touches somebody's hand. And unfortunately, it all is also poisoning him from within. He never recovers ultimately from this car accident, because every time he has one of these visions, a little part of him dies inside.
Well, what I think is interesting is this would have been after Scanners, correct?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes, it is.
One of the most interesting aspects for me of Scanners is how this character Cameron, the hero, he is being driven insane by being able to hear people's thoughts. And I just think it's these are both of a piece in in how this gift, if you want to call it that at first blush would seem like something very cool to have, is actually deeply unpleasant and can ruin your life. And I think what took a page from that was Unbreakable. And how I think of that scene when Bruce Willis's character is walking through the train station and brushing past people and basically seeing like the worst thing that they've ever done. And it's like, it's like you can't see them like rescuing a puppy or making balloon animals for children. No, you see them like committing hate crimes and date rape and and just being reminded of how normal looking people all have this dark little secret they're carrying around. And it's like, well, that's blood curdling.
I would also think of Stir of Echoes, which is a movie I have listed in the almost king but not category that we will try to cover in this particular season, where the cost of being able to see something means you can never unsee it. And that just begins to take over your life in ways that you could not possibly calculate beforehand.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting connection too, because that's a Richard Matheson joint, and I think King counts Matheson as one of his biggest influences. So
for sure,
I definitely. I mean, you see that in The Shining as well. If we're talking, it's amazing how many of King's novels, especially early novels, are about, hey, something's weird in this person's mind.
Yes,
but it's not a good weird.
Well, and there's also, you can extend this off to the Stephen King universe idea of people who have this level of psychic power, because in the grand scheme of things, you have the Man in Black who is, taking people who have this kind of power and cordoning them off into a subsection of the universe so that he can focus them at beams of the tower and break them. And so in ways, we discussed this kind of in Carrie, like once a beam is shattered, it's kind of done. It's a ghost of what could have been. And in many respects, this is like a thin beam that is entirely dependent on Johnny Smith maintaining, and there's just no way he can. The toll is too great for him.
Yeah.
The other thing that occurred to me is when we see Johnny and his love, Sarah, go to a local smallish theme park carnival, they go on a roller coaster. and he begins to have these flashes. It's almost like an attack. And in many respects, like even before his accident, he's getting a taste of what his talent will become. It mirrors his visions that will start to rule his life. Once he touches somebody, he is on that violent ride, and it just thrashes his mind, ravages his body, and tears his emotional state apart. Yes, he will eventually step off, but the experience of being tossed about someone else's destiny, whether it's past, present, or future, just leaves him in tatters. The rails of someone else's life is not something he can control. And even though eventually he'll be allowed off the ride changes him forever.
I love the roller coaster as well, because in the book, a lot of this is focused on they're still at a carnival, but it's called the Wheel of Fortune. It's like it's a spinning wheel that Johnny keeps guessing right on. It's basically roulette, and he keeps winning. And he's getting these flashes, and I think it's a great scene on the page. But if you had tried to make spinning a wheel over and over into like the super compelling horror sequence in a film, it might not have worked as well. So I do love that roller coaster, and that's a great metaphor you just brought up.
It's just one of those things that I think, Cronenberg really understands, and anyone who is adapting one thing to an next gets. Like, you have to make this worthy of film, something that you see it and tells you a story, even if you don't get it immediately. And that's what he's able to do. He translates that scene into something that just works for a movie. And even if you don't get all the intricacies of it, it's really telling you what you need to know, even if you don't realize it at the time.
Right.
Another thing about Johnny that I think is really important is that when it comes down to it, he's a teacher. What he has always wanted to be, and when he is happiest, is when he's able to help a child be the best kid that they can be, whether that's in the classroom, whether that's later hanging out with Sarah's child. This is the kind of thing that brings him joy. This is what the very few times in the movie that a smile appears on his face. And as such, it's this really, if we get one of those, what we call out every single time, Gina, the lessons in horror, when this schoolroom lesson is actually what this entire movie is about. Because he's talking about the Raven at the start, which is about lost love. And then he's like, okay, now we're going to talk about Sleepy Hollow, which is a teacher's doomed encounter with the supernatural. And then he just fucking lays it out.
Yep.
A little bit more naturally than Carrie 2 The Rage. Just a skosh, yeah. Love The Rage, the Carrie 2 as much as I do. Just a skosh better.
Listen. I'll tell you this: the Dead Zone doesn't have someone killing people with compact discs. So
true. Yes.
Yeah, there's not one single dong injury in the Dead Zone.
And that's what we need more of. More dong injuries in this movie in particular. And I can start to name the dongs I'd like to see injured if you guys want to stay after. And I've got a chart, a whiteboard, a presentation I've made. It's a little diorama I made out of a shoebox of all the dongs I want to see damaged. Speaking of damaged dongs, here's the thing that only occurred to me this time. And in the book, in the movie, this is not the film's intention. In any way, shape, or form, it's just not a discussion, but it's much more of a looking at it through a modern lens. The question I have is, we've got Johnny's Captain America-like virginity, right? Which is much more stated in the book than here. But,
well, yeah, I mean, the one glaring issue of as much as I enjoy Christopher Walken in this role, I think it's one of his most underrated performances. Mm-hmm. He is a little old for this character.
Yes, but very few people can convey before they had superpowers flat hair. When they have superpowers, hair stick up.
Well, it's all that, it's all that psychic energy. It's gotta come out somewhere.
His brain is changed, and all of that activity has a result on his hairline. And because superpowers, hair stick up. Exactly. But throughout more so in the book than the movie, we get this idea that he doesn't want to sleep with this new girlfriend, even though she would very much like that, because no, I want to save that for marriage, and I'm absolutely going to marry you, and it's very sweet and everything. But is it, to me, through a modern lens, because of the way Johnny's makeup is even before the accident, I don't know that he's just really that genuinely sexual person. And I preface this by saying, I don't believe that's the observation that was intended by King or by Cronenberg. Their version of this character is that this is due to Christian underpinnings. Johnny is much more of a moral, Christ-like figure who will suffer for all of our sins and save us through his sacrifice, and he's bestowed with terrible purpose, all that. But also, maybe his expressions of love and connections are not tied to his dick like that.
I think he's just sort of a pure being.
I mean, the Christ analogy is something that King has talked about too, and it's definitely there. But I think it also works as innocence. I mean, obviously, there's an innocence loss thing happening there, where when he finally does have sex, it's like after he's had this strange power bestowed on him.
Yeah.
And I think that it is partially King's way, and similar to what happens in stuff like It, where King, Johnny, like Stephen King, was a child of the 50s and grew up in that classic Americana thing. And I think he wanted Johnny to be he is a small town guy who just wants to help the local youths and settle down with another school teacher, go to the carnival. He's just this regular guy. He doesn't care about sex. He cares about love. And then, of course, later everything becomes much more. The world is a lot more cynical, I think, than Johnny believes it to be earlier, which is exemplified in the rant he gives about to the sheriff about the gift he's been given by God.
Right, yeah. He's been a real sport to me, man.
He's been a real sport to me. That is such a Stephen King line. That is maybe the most Stephen King line in the film is Johnny. He's been a real sport to me.
Well, you also sort of got this, and again, this is more addressed in the book, but you have this sort of shadow twin of Frank Dodd.
Yeah.
Who is, the classic, you're a dirty girl killer.
Yes. Absolutely. Let's fucking get into it. Because, I mean, the simple setup of that first act is we meet Johnny, we meet Sarah, their first date. It goes well. She's like, come on in. He's like, I'm going to marry you. Plenty of time for that. And then he goes out and does not see the trailer of a milk truck coming his way. And once again, Cronenberg has a car accident at the center of a film that also deals with mental mutations and the body horror. This movie does have body horror, just not in his grand guignol way that he demonstrates in other films. But the body horror is still there.
Well, the body horror is that, his brain is generating these images, whether he wants them to or not.
Yes.
And, and also the fact that he does literally have a brain tumor.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, yes, in the book, obviously, the connections are really deepened because you have so much more time with Mrs. Smith. But she has this whole religious thing where she has decided at some point God will come down in a UFO, if I'm remembering this.
Yeah, she's like another Stephen King crazy church lady. He loves
she is
them.
A crazy church lady.
Loves him so much.
Loves him so much. When he wakes up from the coma, can't wait to tell him that 5 years has gone past. Thanks, Mom. And also makes things about herself very easily. It's just, he loves a hyper-religious mom. And so you kind of get two versions of it, both here and in the book. between Johnny and, of course, Frank Dodd, whose mother is like, obviously her issue is not so much religious as it is possession, ownership, who you view as your number one. A thing that he will revisit time and time again. Not obviously in Misery, this is a big component. This is like a proto-Misery in the background of this other novel.
Right.
This also introduces, just to get it out of the way, that, we'll be visiting Castle Rock several times over the course of the season. But it's worth noting that the idea of the Stephen King universe pretty much begins with this town and this novel, that its history, location, residents will begin to cast a bigger and bigger shadow in King's work going on. So it's one of those fascinating byproducts of producing a metric ton of fiction that you create this universe that's so malleable that in the book of The Dead Zone, they mention the novel Carrie.
Right.
Yes.
And
I love that.
Yeah, and like I said, and in Cujo, they mentioned Frank Dodd.
Yes, it's posited that Frank Dodd, while Cujo is infected with rabies, Frank Dodd is actually guiding Cujo into killing specific people. Like, he's like, oh, there's murder about. I'm just going to latch my spirit onto this angry, infected dog, and I will steer it in the direction I want it to, which is why it targets Sheriff Bannerman.
Right.
Frank Dodd, who is the Castle Rock Strangler in the book, the killer in the movie, represents the kind of character the King has toyed with before writing this particular book, but never really invested heavily in. He had his trademark greaser bullies, which we've talked about many times and we'll talk about many times going forward, and your random degenerates. And then you even have a mad sorcerer king who wanders in between worlds and tries to break them. But King had never written a serial killer before as a subject, and that would be like a subject matter that would come to dominate much of the 70s, 80s, and 90s in all levels of media until the phenomenon began to give way in the wake of criminal psychology and DNA advancements. And then magically, serial killers are harder and harder to find. Not that I am complaining. Gina, stop telling people I'm complaining about a lack of serial killers. Toxic and deranged men probably killed and abandoned before the majority, for the majority of humankind's time on Earth. We just didn't have the information networks and police infrastructure to catalog their exploits. That being said, my guess is that King just viewed this type of person with both a lowered and heightened story expectations to just simply make them random slashers. He had to give them stories, and stories require a lot of time to develop those ideas and characters. And so Frank Dodd falls in line with a lot of other King characters that are mad, give it its fetishistic impulses, or being trapped in an unhappy childhood, or
the crazy mom.
They have access to positions of power that tip them over the edge. They have terrible parental examples, as Gina mentioned. So one look at Frank's room, and we love to look at a bedroom on this show.
I love how creepy this is.
I want to shake the art director's hand. It's so great.
There's no level of this where you see that room. Like, if Bannerman had ever gone into this dude's room, he would have said, you know what? We need to make some shifts in
like we need to tighten up that aptitude test a little bit.
Yeah. We are not getting Castle Rock's best, because there's no way anyone who's currently sleeping in this smaller than twin bed, surrounded by
cowboy wallpaper,
just busy green cowboy wallpaper. Even the hallway.
It's like you can smell this house. You can just know that it just reeks of old cigarette smoke. And it's not even just that it's a child's bedroom, but that it's like a dingy child's bedroom. It just looks like tomb-like.
Now, we have enjoyed hobby horses before on this show. Might I remind one of our favorite characters of all time from Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2 is, of course, Fuck Horse, the hobby horse that is possessed by a horny demon of some kind whose tongue will touch your hands as much as you like and really gets turned on when you kiss your dad. So, if anyone on earth would go into a man in his 20s to 30s and they have a little horse on springs still where they sleep, you have to arrest that person immediately.
Or just hospitalize them or something. Somebody needs to sit down and gently speak with them.
But also know where they've been at night. That's another thing I think we need to know. In the book, it's sort of revealed that he's been physically and sexually abused by his mother. And so it makes sense that his room is frozen in a specific moment in his childhood. While he is aged, he's never really grown older mentally or emotionally. He's stuck in a place where his mother has said, all those other girls who want to steal you away, well, they'd be better off dead, thinking that'll keep them at home, never thinking that will make him go out and start killing multiple teenagers and women in their 20s.
He's basically a Norman Bates.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. I will say, though, that my favorite piece of art direction from that entire house is the green lantern in the hallway.
Oh, yes.
It gives it that nice Mario Bava glow right before you go into the bedroom. Oh,
right.
It's so good.
Yes, it is very Italian Suspiria coded, where whatever the fuck's happening in that house ain't right at all. And I love that even in a Cronenberg movie that is so specific, so still, so pasture, it's evoking this sort of painterly vision of America. And even within that, he invites you into a home that every corner you look around, you're like, that's not good. That's not good. That's even worse than what I saw just a minute ago.
It's just the toys and the pink laundry hamper in the bathroom. Everything about it is. This is going to be a Netflix documentary series one day.
Right. But also if you notice the bathroom walls, there's cracks all over the walls.
Yes,
and it's okay. There's someone punching the walls, or is the house just falling apart, or why hasn't this been addressed?
I feel like this movie has a lot of crumbling American infrastructure vibe to it, where everything feels like it's just been weathered. It's lived, and it's gotten you through it, but the age absolutely shows. There is no new builds in David Cronenberg's The Dead Zone. Even the clinic, which is a place of happiness, has walls that are something bad happened up against that wall. It might not have been evil bad, but just people didn't make it out of here alive because they had serious, serious problems. This movie, that house, the Dodd home is ungood. You can salt the earth, but you got a feeling that a hand will still stick up out of those rocks, Carrie style, at the end of it.
Yeah, I'm genuinely surprised that a mention of Frank Dodd and the Dodd house is only limited to Cujo, because that seems to me that would get official town haunted house status.
Well, that is a thing that is actually real in here, Gina, at least in the book side, because he becomes kind of a thing that you in particular, a hobby horse you love to ride yourself, is that if there has been a serial killer who has done terrible things in that town, the legend and crimes should be something that everybody knows about. And that does happen with Frank Dodd, because not only is he mentioned in Cujo, he's brought up in
Needful Things.
Needful Things.
That's right. Right. Yeah, you're right.
He's brought up in It. He's in a short story, Uncle Otto's Truck, about the guy who kills his business partner with a truck, and then the truck slowly advances on his house. He's brought up in that one. So Dodd is actually a boogeyman who lives in a kid's closet. It's just one of those things that he does tend to live on. And I'm sort of surprised he never showed up as a boogeyman in the Dark Tower franchise. Although it is, related. Needful Things is related. Dodd's another character in the Stephen King universe who's broken by and contributes to the breaking of the beam. So there you go. But there's so many elements of the Castle Rock sequence that I enjoy. It's not only beautifully photographed, but there's so much about it that is haunted. The way Frank Dodd looks at Johnny Smith during that investigation, where he's like, this guy, this is bullshit. I am in the catbird seat. There's absolutely nothing on earth that actually can touch me. And the first time he really gets the willies is in that crazy, insane black and white tunnel that they're in. And he touches the packet of cigarettes and he starts to look around, and Dodd starts to get worried.
Yeah, it's great. It's such great acting from Nicholas Campbell is the name of the actor. Like it's if you've only seen The Dead Zone once, you have to go back and watch it again just to see Frank Dodd's face slowly changing.
Yeah.
In that moment, that tunnel actually, I wanted to mention because I read this earlier today. It is in Niagara Falls, Ontario, and it is actually called the Screaming Tunnel.
Really?
And it's
that
supposedly
shot is
haunted.
so beautiful.
Yeah. It's supposedly haunted, and I love that. Like Cronenberg, they shot it around like in Ontario, obviously, and like they found that, and that is such a perfect piece of lore to add to the menace of that moment.
And even still, like the most haunting moments of that sequence aren't in the tunnel. It's already setting you up for this terrible journey you're about to go on. And then you go to this band shell that's in the middle of the public park that I guess they built so well that the town kept it.
Yeah.
They replaced the roof and they kept it to this day. Although some people are like, we can't keep a murder gazebo. It's like, but free gazebo. Let's take the free gazebo.
It's a fictional murder gazebo.
Exactly.
It's only a real murder gazebo if you make it one.
Right. Exactly.
I just like to
you have to work
gazebo. Hard. He manages to say gazebo in a slightly menacing way.
Gazebo. And so it just so happens that Frank has managed to kill somebody that very day. Great timing, Frank. And so he's brought, Johnny is brought to the gazebo, and he, of course, touches the corpse and immediately is taken on a ride of her final moments. And this is one of those things where he's once again, just as he is with the nurse, just as he is with the Dr. Wojak, he's trapped in what he knows is going to happen. And he is so broken by it afterwards. After he sees this murder, he's like, I just stood there. I let it happen. You couldn't do anything. You're seeing the past. But it's so immediate to him. And he's so upset with himself that he didn't, quote unquote, do something. But of course, all it takes is him saying out loud, she knew him, for Frank Dodd to go, whoop, 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 whoop. And I'm surprised there's not like a ghost outline of smoke of how fast he beats feet.
I was going to say he just stops, like his head turns around without actually like the rest of his body. Like, what did you say?
He does not stick around long. And even then, Bannerman is kind of like, come on. It cannot possibly be Frank Dodd. I work with this guy. And how many fucking times have we heard this about people who do the worst goddamn things you've ever heard of? And someone goes, I didn't see it. I worked with him every day.
Yeah, there would be newspaper articles of Frank Dodd was a polite loner
exactly.
who always showed up on time for work.
He served his community.
Yes.
Loved his mother.
You're both absolutely right about his description in major media after the fact is revealed that he's murdered many, many people. And so that's when they go to that house. Of course, everything about that sequence is terrifying, including the fact that Johnny learns that Frank's mom knew what was happening and was kind of like, actually okay with this activity. This works for me.
Well, they were all dirty girls. They're always dirty girls.
Yes, especially girls who work in diners. The worst.
They're the dirtiest.
Truly, there's no way you can be around that many dishes of eggs and not come out scarred and filthy in some way, shape, or form. But this sequence, while he's cajoled into it, and it does resolve, he doesn't walk away unscathed. Of course, Johnny gets shot by Frank Dodd's mom.
Yeah, none of this ever does him any good.
Nothing ever does him any fucking good. And so, you know what we did not discuss, and we just have to say, is the sequence that was filmed to be his his wake up sequence from the coma, but they reversed it in the edit. When he grabs the nurse's hand and sees his daughter in the house fire. And it was filmed two ways. One in which he was in the action, which we'll see on and off throughout the movie, and one in which he just sees the fire and the little girl. And the fact that you see him surrounded by fire, that he's in that bed where the comforter is on fire, it's not scary in the sense that, it's going to keep me up at night. It's the kind of scary that once it's in your brain, it's never going to become dislodged.
Yeah.
Right.
It's one of two sequences in the movie that are like that for me. The other one is Dodd's suicide. Yeah.
Yes. And we have to say, forcing is it a slow, it's one of those magic tricks where Cronenberg will show you a monkey turned inside out, but not show scissors go into a guy's mouth. It's just one of those things where it's like, this has to be restrained because everyone can envision it. But I have to show you a guy turn into a brundlefly. That's something you need to see. A hand turns into a gun. Someone sticks a videotape in there, a tum-tum. That's something I have to show you. But man stabs himself in the mouth with very sharp scissors. That'll show you a before and after, and you'll put it together in your mind.
I do.
Yeah, I think for Cronenberg, this is certainly among his most restrained movies.
Yes.
But that's not a criticism. It's just, it's restrained for him.
I think he was just making the movie that worked best for the Dead Zone story. And there's so much that turns him on personally as a story maker that he just didn't worry about being overly grotesque. He has plenty of opportunities to do that before and after. And in here, he's like, what's really important to me is Johnny Smith's story, and I really want to focus on that. And I'll give you a few shocks along the way, but that's not the point of the movie necessarily.
Right.
And it is like, for all of Cronenberg's maximalist tendencies in his body horror stuff, the shot of Dodd just putting his hands behind his head and opening his mouth remains one of the creepiest things Cronenberg has ever shot. For me, it's just so, like, he puts on his murder coat, his special murder coat that his mommy bought for him at Montgomery Ward, and
nothing but the best.
Takes the scissors that his mother probably sewed his name into his underwear with,
and cuts his hair with,
and then just goes for it, and it's just so matter of fact and dark.
Time to put scissors in mouth. That's what the clock on the wall says. And yes, it just really is haunting, and it's fun that that actor did a bunch of things. Like he shows up in the movie before this. Oh God, too much Nashville 911 going on.
Are you talking about the Cronenberg movie before?
Yes. Videodrome. Yes.
They came out the same year.
Different studio. I think Universal had so many awesome sci-fi horror things that they had to spread it fucking out. He's really skeezy and scummy in that, but like every surface is wet in that film.
Oh, yeah.
It's moist.
It is a damp movie, Videodrome.
Yeah, everything's got fluids. And it's great because of it. I don't care for the lead actor, but that's neither here nor there. So after this, we now have the aftermath. Like he's been shot. His body is going to hell. He's gone from I can walk without a cane in the snow to no, I'm back to multiple canes trying to get around. I feel like I'm dying inside every time I have one of these visions. The dead zone now takes on the form of the possible future, something that he can't see beyond. And that frightens him more than anything else. And so out of this aftermath, he's rescued by a job offer to be a private tutor to a kid, something that he relishes and makes him feel alive again. But of course, that has to be killed by the bad miracle because he sees a vision of his young charge fall under the ice during an ice skating, or they're playing hockey, I suppose. So it's like Damien the Omen too. And that's another one of those things that just crawls into my mind is like, that is not the way I want to go.
Well, no, I mean, you've got like all the hockey gear on, like they're sinking like stones.
Yes. I conflate them together. Just the very idea of being trapped under the ice and seeing people on top trying to get to you is just, oh, Jesus Christ, it's absolute nightmare fuel. And he warns his young charge's father, played by Anthony Zerbe. Another fantastic little Zerbe role here, where he doesn't always have spittle flying out of his mouth, but you kind of can still see it. That's the way Zerbe comes off to me on screen.
It's implied spittle.
It's implied spittle. It's theater of the mind spittle. But Zerbe's just like one of those guys who's great at, he can, I'm sure I've heard nothing but lovely things about the man, but he plays scummy so well. And in this is like, kind of like, hey, make my son good at learning because I don't want to deal with that. I have to deal with like guys trying to get me to give them money so they can become a new senator. And I know from the get-go that guy's bad news. And that's the first time we really see Stilson in contact with Johnny.
Well, I also think it's, Johnny does bond with this young student, though, who very much takes him seriously when he comes, ranting into the house about the ice about to break.
Yeah.
That is one of the scariest things in the film is when, what's the boy's name? I've already forgotten it.
Yeah. Chris. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 And then you look down at your watch and the very next scene is like, go out on the ice. It's like, no, I won't be. And you hear the screams from outside of two kids falling through the fucking ice. And then you're left with this man who refused to listen to the psychic he hired. Just like, no, sure, you caught a serial killer. So you stopped a girl from burning up in a house. But what makes you right about this? And that sort of terrifying certainty that people have of things they don't understand is yet another haunting. It's not a boo scary element. It's you're left with, people get dire warnings that aren't psychic flashes, but just advice, just knowledgeable advice. And they go, no, I believe in my gut, and their gut gets people killed. Right. Yes. Whereas my dreams are so stupid that I had a nightmare last night that there was an earthquake, but I was living in the house that I grew up with and fell out the laundry room window. And I'm like, no dead zone before bedtime. That's a noontime watch from now on. Yeah. Yeah, sure. You never want the risk of mother! Exclamation point. That if you see that on a medication you're taking may involve the possibility of a mother sitch. Mother may happen to you, and there's just a lot of extra people in your house yelling at you. Yes. Also, if somebody orders ice in their drink, like Christopher Walken says ice in this movie, you also want to really pay attention. I want ice in my pina colada. Oh, that's rad. Fuck. I'm mad. That's so good. I'm mad. Mad all over again. That's good copy. So outside of, he's moved to a different town to try to get away from his past a little bit. And they're painting this banner ad for Stilson's Senate run. And they're painting sections of it. So there's missing sections of it. Up until the point where Johnny grabs his hand, making his way to a rally. And then he sees it all. And then the banner ad is complete. Now he has a full picture of who Stilson is. God damn it, this is a good movie.
It really is. I mean, I think the only thing that it lacks from the book is, as you mentioned, a lot of there are, a lot of interludes from Stilson's point of view, where, much like, and you see that he and Johnny are a lot more alike than would have seemed to be apparent, in that Stilson also has something wrong with him,
right? Yeah,
so to speak, and is also aware that there's something wrong with him, just like Johnny is.
Yes.
Well, and he even says, which like this is a we talked about shaking hands with Stilson, and he sees. We talked about no new builds in the movie, but like the newest structure is clearly that like crazy Batcave bunker that Stilson is in when he's president in Johnny's vision, with the big slate gray seal of the president up there, looking like Two Faces coin and shit. But anyway, like Stilson says in that vision, in Johnny's vision, that like he had, like, God spoke to him and told him it was his destiny.
Yeah.
So like Stilson, even in the film, has this like weird parallel to Johnny, where he's like, I see the future. I know what the future should be. And it should be me bombing whoever the hell we're bombing, probably Russia, because it was 1983. Yeah. But it's very striking. And it's also striking. Like, I think that it's interesting to me that Johnny is so all-American wholesome that he doesn't want to have sex with a girl that he's clearly madly in love with and wants to just be a nice tutor to some kids. And Stilson is the guy who is always pretending to be the most all-American guy in the room.
Mm-hmm.
He has the fucking hard hat that he wears all the time, which is, I'm glad they kept that from the book, because it's such a, like, I'm just like you. I'm a working man.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I mean, do I need to bring up, an image of somebody in a truck a few years ago.
Oh yeah,
and doing the little womp like arm gesture, and it's just like, who are you fucking kidding?
It's different now, Gina. He's different. It's all computer now.
Everything. This whole issue of computer.
Everything's computer.
It's all computer. Elon explained it to me. It's all computer.
It's all computer. Listen, the only thing I've enjoyed about that is when Elon's kid told him to shut the fuck up. And even then, I got it. Jesus.
I had forgotten about that, Patrick.
Well, you know what? That's the thing. It's such a torrent of shit that you forget that one nugget of corn you enjoyed that passes you along the way. Oh, God. Anyways, let's talk about a happy subject. Assassination. So Johnny gets it into his head. He's now seeing what Stilson's game plan is. He knows from experience that no matter how much he would like to be wrong, he's not wrong. There's as many context clues of this as visions that Stilson is damaged fucking good. If he wins this election, he's going to win another one, and he's going to end up in a position where he's going to do the worst possible thing because the man in black is secretly telling him to do it. Who's to say? Let's not get that Stephen King universe into it, but one can imagine. So he goes to his doctor, Wyjak, who survived World War II and the pogroms there. And he says, if you had ever had the chance to kill Adolf Hitler before you could rise to power, would you do it? And he is honest. This is the first time he's super honest about what he knows about Johnny's power. And he's kind of like, yeah, I would. That's worth it.
Herbert Loam in that scene is so good.
Good.
It's such an amazing, because he at first he's like, you know, why would you ask me this question? Like, yeah. And then he does this whole big wind up to it, and he's like, yeah, I would kill the son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I would have to. It's a moral imperative, so of course I would. And
so Johnny leaves Sarah a letter telling him this is just something that I'm going to have to do. I'm going to do something that's going to cost me my life, but it's a worthwhile sacrifice because you and your child will survive. Sarah and her family, turns out, have been working for Stilson, which says something about her taste in politics, but well, neither here nor there. Johnny sneaks into a balcony that's underattended and sets up to shoot at Stilson, misses, but Stilson grabs Sarah's baby and uses it as a human fucking shield, a thing that has now been posted on the internet more than the movie itself. That's how reflective it is of today's society.
Because it is 100% plausible.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, like this in this movie, it's like this is the point of no return.
Right.
For this character. He is done for at this point. Absolute lowest point of humiliation here, but you know, what are you bringing a kid to a political rally for?
Right. You would blame the kid. Why didn't the kid struggle out of his grasp if Fox News would yell?
You know, you would blame, no, you wouldn't even blame the kid. You would blame the
sure.
mom.
Let me tell you something, Sean Hannity. If we trained every toddler to use a gun in this nation, we'd be a lot safer.
Yeah, osh gosh bagosh. How about osh gosh bulletproof armor is what we need to put these babies in. And then we'd be safe.
It would be dismissed because, hey, kid didn't get hurt or anything.
Yeah. I mean, everyone would react this way. Grab the nearest baby between you and a bullet. But in the happy version of these events, and I say that ironically, no, Stilson's done for. One photograph ends up in Time or Newsweek. I can't remember which. But he's done so. And then when he leans down and touches Johnny Smith again, Johnny can see that he ends up alone, drunk, and offing himself.
I love that Johnny is able to say before the end of the movie, like, it's over, you're finished. I did it.
I did it. Everybody, I'm done. Mission accomplished. Finally, one mission accomplished banner you could fly. Any other elements of the Dead Son that we didn't get to that you just have to get off your chest? here, Matthew?
I will say I do love the one vision we didn't talk about is like Johnny tells his doctor that his mother, who he thought had died in the Holocaust, is alive, and he's able to call and hear his mother's voice, which is a very emotional moment that I think adds a lot of warmth to Johnny. Yeah. So I love that scene. But anyway.
And
yeah, so it's one of the only like visions he has that you results in something good.
Yeah. But even Weizsack can't really bring himself to talk. Like the knowledge is enough, but then to change her reality is something that he can't bring himself to do as a doctor. And it's just a really interesting performance for him. For a guy like, yes, he had a really long career, and I would go on to see him in the Hammer films he would appear to. But at the first time I saw this, I'm like, oh, dude from Pink Panther movie.
Yeah.
Guy got mad in Pink Panther movie. And obviously a much farther layered and interesting actor. And a not flashy role is able to do so much with it. The same thing is very, very true with Brooke Adams as Sarah. She just does heartbreaking work. That moment where she drives away from that day with Johnny, when he says, like, listen, my life is kind of broken. There's no more me after this. I can't teach. I can't do anything else. So you would be best to just like live a full life away from me. And she drives away crying and sobbing in the car. It's just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned before, like, Jackie Burroughs as Johnny's mom does yeoman's work with very few scenes. Colleen Dewhurst is killer as Frank Dodd's mom. Like a lot of really good work by actors in this movie.
Yeah. It's a very, very underrated movie.
Yes.
And I mean, you got Mr. Tom Skerritt, who you can never go wrong with. I love, to this day, I get so excited when Tom Skerritt and his beautiful mustache are in anything.
Mm-hmm. Even when he is entranced by a teen girl's feet in, what did we just talk about, Gina? Poison Ivy.
Oh, yeah, Poison Ivy. That's true. That's true.
Tom doesn't play a bunch of scumbags, but when he does,
I was thinking more about MASH and stuff like that.
Alien,
yeah,
yes,
that does happen. Alien,
Top Gun,
of course, Alien, yes.
Yeah. Fantastic actor. Yeah. Well, listen, I have a vision of the future. And it is Choosing Our Own Deathventure. And that's where we decide of the actual deaths that occur in the film. If we were forced to die in one of those ways, what would it be and why? So up for bid, it is die of a stroke while watching your son have a psychic vision on television. Or you could get strangled in the cold after a full fucking shift at your diner job. Or you can stab yourself in the mouth with very sharp scissors. You can get shot by a cop in your very scary looking house. You can go under the ice and die there. You can get shot by a bodyguard and die knowing that you did the right thing. Or later on, drink yourself up a whole bunch and commit suicide by gun. And Matthew, you're our guest, so you get to go first.
Oh, dear Lord. See, I was thinking about I still think about Frank Dodd's death and how he did it, and it must just be that the blade of the scissors went up through his like hard palate and stuff and into his brain.
Yeah.
But that seems like a lot of work. So weirdly, I feel like dropping like a stone to the bottom of a frozen lake would be relatively painless. Because the cold would sort of slow everything down and numb you a little bit. Yeah. And I really don't want to go through everything involved. I can't get drunk. I'm sober. So I'm not allowed to get drunk even for like shooting myself purposes. So I'll go with sinking to the bottom of a frozen lake. That works for me.
Well reasoned. What you were doing at that child's birthday party, I can't say, but that's neither here nor there. Gina,
I was trying to learn how to play hockey. I'm from Texas. We don't do it very well down here.
That's very true. Gina, what's a you?
Oh well, I would love to. We very rarely in movies we cover for this show have characters who get to die a hero. So I'm gonna take. The circumstances leading up to it are pretty awful.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna take shot and die a hero.
Okay. That's the thing. He also has that fall from the balcony, and I cannot do heights. That's just, I'm not going to drown, and I can't do heights, and I don't like ice stuff. So I'm just going to get the shot by cop the way Mrs. Dodd does. I mean, yes, I'm going to make those wallpaper choices, and that's probably the reason why I should die.
Well, you get that cool lantern, that cool green lantern, which probably had radium in it, which might explain why that family was so crazy. Right. But yeah.
It might be infused with the energy of the Tommy knockers. I'm not saying it's true, but it feels emotionally correct.
Another bad miracle Stephen King story.
I like the Tommy knockers a lot. I don't love that miniseries, but God bless it. I just like the Tommy knockers.
You like Stephen King, the cocaine years, yeah.
Yeah, I think that particular one speaks to me. I like his This Town's Going to Hell tales, and that's a real good one, and it's super weird. And we
mentioned Needful Things. I love Needful Things. Speaking of Town Going to Hell, that is an underrated King novel.
Absolutely, and that movie is the ultimate TNT movie for me. It was just on all the fucking time, and whenever it came on, guess who watched it? The person with these two thumbs pointing at his dumb face.
Listen, Ed Harris is one of the kings of basic cable movies for a reason.
Yes. Yes. Unfortunately, he only danced like a chicken in one creep show.
Yes.
It should have been more often. Someone's got to get that guy to dance like a chicken in another movie before he leaves this earthly plane. But that's not my job. That being said, my job right now is to tell people that they can find us on the regular socials with the exception of Twitter. Fuck that place. Rate and review us on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. Talk to us on Spotify or YouTube. Please subscribe to us there as well. We would love to hear from you. And of course, join us on Patreon where we have tons of fun bonus episodes for you to try out. Now, Matthew, where can people find you out there on the World Wide Web?
The best place is my Blue Sky page, which is awalrusdarkly.bsky.social. It's a very old screen name, and I can't change it now. That is where you'll find links to all my writing, and I share my podcast episodes. My podcast, like Patrick said, is called The Scares That Shaped Us, where we talk to a different horror author each week about a story that was formative to their imaginations. We are on all the major podcast platforms, so you can find us there.
Do it today. Hey, Gina, what about the internets? You're on them. Where are you?
Well, I am actually, as we record this, in the process of transferring my newsletter from Substack to Ghost because Substack is full of Nazis, and I really don't want to be part of that anymore. So hopefully by the time this goes up, that'll be all set up. But in the meantime, you can also find me on Blue Sky under Gina Does Things.
Do it today, people. Check it out. Don't worry, folks. The body count will continue. For myself, for Matthew, and Gina, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye!
They're all gonna